Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live to talk about episode 5 of the anime series Just Because. And I gotta say, I really loved the sort of melancholic air that was cast throughout, like the first three quarters of this episode. That just unchecked realism in the depressive quality of both of our boys, for all intents and purposes, having been shot down by their respective love interests and everything like that, and just not wanting to deal with going back to school, not wanting to have to face or confront walking the same halls as these girls that don't really want anything to do with them. Which I found to be a highly relatable scenario. I'm sure I was, I'd gone through similar things back when I was in school back in the day and such like that, and so I really felt for the both of them, and even the girls. Even the girls don't really want to have to confront that, but it seems like both of the girls are taking that much more initiative to try to piece together how they are really feeling, and getting to know each other a little more. And I really loved the depth of characterization in this episode along that line, where characters sort of begin the episode at arm's length from each other, but they are all gravitating back toward each other by the end of it. And whereas, you have characters like Natsume and Hatsuki where I don't really feel a resounding sense of their having been friends, it seems like they can kind of gravitate more toward each other and maybe be more friendly toward each other by the end of the confrontation they have. They meet each other at the cafe and they have this great discussion, basically trying to put the puzzle pieces together about how they actually feel. Of course, Natsume has a crush on Haruto, and that's something that's biting Eita in the butt all the time, because he has interest in her, and here she is liking his best friend. And, Hatsuki turned him down for all intents and purposes, and I love that we get a really down to earth, common sense reasoning for why she turned him down as she expresses it to Natsume. Quite frankly, she doesn't really know Haruto that well. She hasn't spent time with him. She hasn't gotten to know him, and it's not, she's not a typical anime nightingale where the cute jock boy comes over and says, "Hey, I want to date you," and she just swoons and says, "Okay." No, she doesn't know him. She has other things in her life that she needs to put focus on. And so she realistically turned him down. And I loved and appreciated that level of characterization there, that reveal that came forward in that discussion. And it's somewhat interesting, in contrast to that Natsume is kind of provoking her to think it out a little more and maybe approach Haruto again and explain herself a little bit better about where she was coming from, make him try to appreciate where she was coming from along those lines. And it begs the question in my mind, well, what is Natsume's actual goal here? Because she eventually reconnects with Eita and kind of tries to smooth, the water between them and everything like that. And she makes some mention of having given it thought, and that she's going to try her best to sort of make things right between she and Haruto. Well, what does that mean exactly? Is she going to go to Haruto, reveal how she feels about him, and say something along the lines of, well, I had been feeling this way for the longest time, and I was frustrated that I could never reveal it to you, but now I'm kind of over it. Now I'm kind of evolving beyond it, and maybe, just maybe, because I got the fleeting idea that she might be, minorly perceptive that Eita has an interest in her based on what he told her. He had first, called her out on the fact that she was burying her head in her book so she wouldn't have to face that conflictual, feeling of not being able to have the courage, build up the courage to reveal how she feels about Haruto and everything like that. And so she was running away to her studies and trying to bury her head. And then Eita also went on to reveal that he has cared about her all this time. So it kind of gave me just the barest perception that maybe she's loosely beginning to consider, does Eita like me? And how do I feel about that? So if she lays down the law for Haruto, it could be in the vein of, I for the longest time, I dug you, and now I don't really. I just need to express that and get that tension released. So I have smooth sailing over to this other guy who I know might actually dig me, that kind of thing. Or is she going to conversely reveal everything about how she feels to Haruto, just waiting to see if he is reciprocative or not? I don't know. Because it's like I said, the conflictual nature of her, sort of trying to boost Hatsuki to reveal and confirm how she felt and why she felt the way she did in turning Haruto down, trying to point her more toward him, it would kind of become conflictual. And I don't want this to be like a love triangle scenario where Eita just gets the crappy end of the spoon, because by the end of the episode, nobody's really giving a crap about him. You know, two girls are trying to figure out whether they do or don't have interest in Haruto and if they're going to confront that. And Eita's just kind of going home and with his, you know, study book that he got and everything. And but I really loved the aspect of Haruto's own coming back together with Eita, and because his first burgeoning that courage to go and ask Hatsuki out to begin with was found on the baseball field, was found on the diamond, with Eita having been reunited with him. I love that he's able to perk himself up by being involved in a baseball game. You know, they kind of go hang out together, and they're going to be backing the losing team, sort of, and he gets involved and he plays a little bit, and this really perks him up. And what really was just a great sense of flavor of that characterization came afterward for me, where he's walking home and he runs into his mother. He's held this misconception that he can't really go to his mother and talk to her because she is so focused on work all the time and things like that, and why bother her when she's already got enough to deal with. And she was very appreciative of the fact that, you know, he took her groceries and were carrying them home with her. They were having a little chat as they walked home. And she could perceive that after, you know, some time being down in the dumps, he actually perked up finally. And that's just the tried and true notion that, you know, we as human beings, we may be frail, we may be given to feeling, you know, sad emotions and things like that, but we are resoundingly resilient as well. And around every corner, around, you know, over every other horizon, there is something better just waiting for us. So if we get turned down by the girl or guy we like, you know, it's not the end of the world, and things like that. We can find things to perk ourselves up again. And that's what he did. That's what he experienced. And so I love that shared dialogue between them, her being appreciative of the fact that, hey, my son is feeling a little better, and she was happy about that. And she really does care for him. And I think he got that sense, even though he was a little bit bewildered. Like, you know, this is the closest conversation I've had with Mommy Dearest in a while. But I really loved that. That's what I loved about this episode, you know, all told, was the depth of characterization and the interpersonal interconnectivity between these characters. Again, beginning sort of keeping each other at arm's length, but gravitating back toward each other by the end. And I'm just left really curious to see what both, you know, Natsume and Hatsuki are going to do in the aftermath of their sort of revelatory discussion with each other. And I could see them becoming faster friends out of this, or potentially, if the love triangle thing is the way they're going to go with it, they could become even more divisive, but you never know. I really love the characters. They have been endeared to me since the get-go. And I'm really highly curious to see where this is going to go. And I really hope that Eita, you know, maybe gains the affections or the attentions of Natsume, because he is so longingly, you know, harboring that frustration for so long a time that he likes her, but she likes his best friend. Maybe she's finally primped to get over that. I would love that. And maybe gravitate more toward Eita. You know, consider that. Now, they did try to set up the idea that, oh, you know, he's spending a lot of time with Kamiya, the photo club girl, and she was flirting with him and such like that. And I'm not really buying that at all. I don't really sense a relationship dynamic between them. I could be completely and utterly wrong. Maybe, you know, Kamiya does have feelings for him, fancies him in some way, and she's just sort of relishing the fact that she can get closer to him. I don't know if that's her motivation at all, but that'll be another interesting aspect, you know, to find out as we move forward. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 5 of Just Because, if you've seen it as well, if you enjoyed it as much as I did. If not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. Our POVs can certainly disagree. It's all about the topic of talk and having a great conversation, even if we don't share the same reaction to an anime episode like this. And yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well. I'll catch you all later. Peace.